Can we build a Pauper Commander deck where we have an actual chance of winning, but all of the cards are only 1 mana? Let's check it out. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Josh, aka finleekilgore. We're doing another Pauper Commander deck tech video where we're taking a look at Blister Coil Weird. Why am I talking so fast? Well, because this is a deck that only features 1 mana spells, which means we want to run fast. I'm going to show you the full list of cards that you need to get this deck put together. And I want to give a special shout out to a user on the Pauper MTG group on Facebook for posing the following question, which led to me putting this build together. This user, who will remain unnamed because real names on Facebook, I don't want to give their real name out, posed the following. Hey folks, I'm looking for a mono red Pauper Commander deck with spells that only cost 1 mana. I'm aware people have done this before, but I can't find a list. Could someone point me in the right direction / suggest cards with good synergies so I can build one? Thanks. So of course,
I took this on as a challenge,
and this is what I've come up with. Let's go take a look at the deck. All right, we've got our deck list pulled up and we're ready to take a look at Blister Coil Weird itself. So this is a 1 mana 1/1 Izzet hybrid creature. He is creature typing Weird, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, he gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and he untaps. So it's kind of a pseudo prowess style thing, even though prowess really only cares about non-creature. This doesn't quite do the same thing, but it is a pseudo vigilance that's attached to him, so you are able to get that out of him as well. And also just the artwork has always been really cool. So we're just going to go down the list here of all the creature sorceries and instants. We're not going to be looking at anything in particular in bunches, because really all that matters is every spell costs 1 mana. We have the best mana efficiency you could possibly ever have. So let's start off by looking at the Akuma Hellhound. He is a 1 mana 0/1 elemental dog with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Akuma Hellhound gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So 1 land drop makes him a 2/3. It's decent enough damage to be able to get in for. After that, we've got a Crowan Crusader. He's a 1 mana 1/1 human soldier with heroic. So whenever you cast a spell that targets him, he makes a 1/1 soldier token with haste. Main reason we've got him in the deck is because we do have some pump spells that benefit him pretty well, but beyond that, being able to get additional 1/1s out on the board doesn't hurt. After that, we've got Blister Spit Gremlin. He's a 1 mana 1/1 gremlin. You can pay 1 and tap him to deal 1 damage to each opponent, and then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can untap him. So this is kind of almost a pseudo thermo alchemist that, if need be, you can turn him into an aggressive creature with some form of a pump spell. Bloodlust Insider is a 1 mana 1/1 human warrior. You can tap him to give a creature haste until end of turn. Since we do have so many creatures that don't have haste on them, it's important to be able to give haste. We've also got Bold Impaler. It's a 1 mana 1/2 Vampire Knight, where you can pay 3 and give him +2/+0 until end of turn. So instead of being able to run something like a Kiln Fiend, which is going to benefit off of our instants and sorceries that we'd be casting to get him bigger, we're going to use Bold Impaler, and then just as a mana sink later in the game when we need to have plays, but we don't necessarily have as many cards in our hand. After that, we've got the Brine Barrow Intruder. We've got a couple of these different types of creatures in there. It's a 1 mana 1/2 human rogue with flash, and whenever he enters the battlefield, a target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. So this gives us a little tempo viability, but also if we're going to be swinging into something that could potentially kill a creature, this is going to be a way to deter that from happening. We've got the Clockwork Percussionist out of Duskmourn, 1 mana 1/1 artifact creature monkey toy with haste. Whenever it dies, you get to impulse draw a card. It can be played until the end of your next turn, so it is a true impulse draw. We've also got Cloudfin Raptor, one of my favorite creatures of all time, by the way, particularly if anybody remembers the old mono blue devotion deck during the Return to Ravnica Theros standard period. This is a 1 mana 0/1 bird mutant with flying and evolve, so every time something comes into the battlefield with a higher power or toughness, he gets a 1/1 counter on him. Flying is going to be important for the invasive maneuvers that we need, but that evolve is going to work well because we've got a number of creatures that are going to be able to stack him up pretty high. After that, we've got Cogworker Wrestler. This is another one like the Brine Barrow. Whenever he comes in, -2/-0 to a target creature. Of course, we wouldn't have a 1 mana is it deck without Delver of Secrets, and honestly, he should be in the deck, because remember, he has the potential to flip over to that 3/2 flying, and that is a big creature to get in for some damage. After that, we've got Drifter Ildal. This is a 1 mana 2/1 human wizard with Shadow, so he can only block or be blocked by creatures with Shadow. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay 1 to keep him on the board, or you're going to have to sacrifice him. So the reason we've got him in the deck, he's a 2/1, well statted. You're basically paying for him every turn, but it doesn't hurt. We've also got Foundry Street Denizen, 1 mana 1/1 Goblin Warrior. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, he gets +1/+0 until end of turn. We do have a good number of red creatures in the deck to be able to trigger this, but in all honesty, there's another reason that we have him in the deck, and that's because of the Goblin synergy that he offers, such as with Goblin Bushwhacker, 1 mana 1/1 Goblin Warrior with kicker for 1 red. Whenever he enters the battlefield, if he was kicked, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. This is going to make our board swing much harder. And then we also have the Goblin Fireslinger, 1 mana 1/1 Goblin Warrior that can tap to deal 1 damage to target player. You will find that there are a lot of options in this deck for burn. Our creatures are very low end on the power and toughness, so we have to make sure we can supplement that damage somewhere. We've also got Goldhound out of Streets of New Capenna. I've always liked this creature a lot. 1 mana 1/1 artifact creature treasure dog with first strike and menace, 2 very relevant keywords for us to run on any creature that we could pump up. But you can also tap him and sacrifice him to add 1 mana of any color, so he does work as a one-time mana dork as well. Got Gorilla Shaman. It's a 1 mana 1/1 ape shaman. You can pay XX and 1 to destroy target non-creature artifact with mana value X. The XX does hurt a little bit, so we typically aren't going to be getting rid of anything that's maybe more than 2 mana, but I think it's still a solid option for artifact removal in the deck, and it can become an aggressive creature if we need it to be. Jace's Phantasm is another really fun one that we get to use. This is a 1 mana 1/1 illusion with flying, and it gets +4/+4 as long as an opponent has 10 or more cards in their graveyard. More often than not, in your PDH pod, this is going to be a 1 mana 5/5, and we've got to have something with really huge power to be able to back up as our quote-unquote late game strategy. Next up, we've got Martyr of Frost. This is a 1 mana 1/1 human wizard. You can pay 2 and reveal X blue cards from your hand and sacrifice the Martyr to counter target spell unless its controller pays X. There are not a lot of counter spells at 1 mana that we can run. I think Martyr of Frost absolutely fits in the deck. Mistcloak Herald is a 1 mana 1/1 that can't be blocked, while Mog Conscripts is a 1 mana 2/2 that can't attack unless you've cast a creature spell during that turn. Monastery Swift Spear is one that I think everybody should know. It's a 1 mana 1/2 with haste and prowess, so it's going to get bigger every time you cast a non-creature spell. And Proven Combatant is one that I really was excited to put in here. This is a 1 mana 1/1 human warrior with Eternalized 6. In the early game, you get this 1/1 that you can use as a chump hitter, or you can use it as a chump blocker, and when it dies and goes to the graveyard, you can then pay 6 and make a 4/4 zombie version of this creature. So being able to get a 4/4 is going to be very important for our late game. We needed to have good late game options. This fits into that very well. Reckless Lackey is another really solid card. 1 mana 1/1 Goblin Pirate with first strike and haste. Again, first strike, a good relevant keyword for us to have when we're pumping creatures up. But you can also pay 3 mana and sack this to draw a card and create a treasure token. So really, 2 mana to draw a card isn't too shabby. The Goblin synergies I was talking about are really based around Skirk Prospector. 1 mana 1/1 Goblin. You can sack a Goblin to add 1 red mana. Skywatcher Adept is another one of those really nice late game cards for us. It's a 1 mana 1/1 up front, but you can pay 3 to level it up at sorcery speed. Level 1 through 2 is a 2/2 flyer, and then level 3 turns it into a 4/2 flyer. You've also got Spark Elemental, which is like the OG, just super great aggressive card. Spear Spewer, he's a 1 mana 0/2 with Defender, and you can tap him to deal 1 damage to each player. Voldaren Epicure, 1 mana 1/1 vampire, enters the battlefield, deals 1 damage to each opponent. You get to make a blood token, so you do get to have that option of looting. Wingcrafter is another interesting one in the deck. 1 mana 1/1 human wizard with soul bond, and as long as it's paired with another creature, both creatures have flying. And then we've got Zulaport Duelist, which is another one of those Brian Barrow type creatures. ETB, it's going to give a target creature -2/-0 until end of turn. The controller of that creature is going to mill 2 cards, so you can use this as a way to manipulate their deck. Maybe they did a Preordain, maybe they did a Ponder. This, I think, is a really solid way to be able to throw a little bit of tempo at those particular players. Moving on to the sorceries, we've got Blazing Volley in the deck. 1 mana sorcery, deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. We do need to have a way to be able to get rid of any potential chump blockers. We've also got Chain Lightning, 1 mana sorcery, deals 3 damage to any target, and then that player or that permanence player can pay 2 red. If they do, they can copy it. So typically you want to focus this towards somebody that's not capable of paying the 2 red, and it just becomes a sorcery speed lightning bolt. We also have Crash Through, because if we do end up pumping up some creatures and they get chump block, we want to make sure we get through for damage, and it draws a card so it does replace itself in hand, which is very helpful. We've got Flame Slash. 4 damage to a creature is very good. We know this because of the use of Heated Debate inside of PDH. Kuldotha Rebirth is mainly in this deck because at some point artifacts may not necessarily be necessary for us, so we can sacrifice those in order to make 3/1/1 red goblin creatures, particularly because we are running cards like Chromatic Star and Nutrient Block in the deck, so we can also get some extra card draw off of this. Moving right along, we've got Lava Spike because burn. We do have Ponder in the deck. We also have Preordained the Brainstorm over here as well. Got to run the trifecta if you're building a 1 mana deck. And then to round out our sorceries, we've got a Reckless Airstrike. This is a 1 mana sorcery. You can choose one, either deal 3 damage to target creature with flying or destroy target artifact. Moving into our instance, we've got Blue Elemental Blast. The main reason we're putting it in here is because we need to have removal options, and red is a very important color inside of PDH. Brute Force might be one of the best pieces of pump that we have in the deck. It's a 1 mana instant, gives a creature +3/+3. We've also got Consider in the deck, 1 mana instant. Look at the top card. You can put it in your graveyard and then draw a card. We've got Dive Down as well as Shore Up, because we do need to make sure we can protect Blister Coil Weird. We do have Felonious Rage. It's a 1 mana instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. And then when that creature dies this turn, you get a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. So we get to pump up and give something haste if need be. But the other side of that is if we know that something is going to get removed from the board, this gives us the ability to replace the creature on board with a 2/2. Now we have both Frostbite and Scred in the deck because they're just good removal options. Since the only lands that we're running are snow-covered islands and snow-covered mountains and nothing else, there's really not a reason we shouldn't be able to hit for 3 every time with this. Infuriate might be our second best piece of pump in the deck. We've got Lava Dart because burn, and also Flashback to sack a mountain. Lightning Bolt because burn. Mizium Skin, it's another one of those effects for us to be able to give hexproof, but we have the Overload option on top of it. Opt, because why wouldn't we run the inverted option of Consider? Pedal to the Metal is one that I wasn't sure if I wanted to put in here because it's an X spell, so if it gets countered it hurts really bad, but it's X and 1 red, instant out of Aether Drift. Target creature gets +X/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. So I like this one particularly because of the first strike. I don't think that's too bad. Remember, in hand, this is considered a 1 mana spell. Gotcha. We also have Shock in the deck because why not? Sonic Seizure is an interesting one. So this is 1 mana. As an additional cost, discard a card at random and it deals 3 damage to any target. So we do have the disadvantage of discarding a card at random. I feel like that's going to be worth it if you know what you have in your hand. Spell Pierce because, again, we need 1 mana options for counter spells. Titan Strength is another really great card. 1 mana +3/+1 until end of turn, and you get to scry 1. We've got Turn Inside Out. Target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn. When it dies this turn, Manifest Dread. So if we know something is going to be getting removed, we have the option to replace the creature on board with a 2/2 face down. And then to round out our instance, we've got an Unsummon as well as a Vapor Snag in order to just get some creatures out of the way. And with Vapor Snag, we can also just get a little bit extra damage out of it. To finish off the rest of the deck, we've got a Chromatic Sphere. It's an artifact. You can pay 1, tap it, sack it to add 1 mana of any color and draw cards, as well as Chromatic Star. And we also have Nutrient Block. If we just need to deal with a little bit of life loss, we can pay 2, sack it, and get that card draw effect as well. We've got its Experimental Synthesizer, 1 mana artifact, enters or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library, and until the end of this turn, you may play that card. You can also pay 3, sack it to make a 2/2 white samurai creature with vigilance. We also have a Springleaf Drum. Being a 1 mana deck, we don't have access to all of our 2 and 3 mana ramps artifacts. So without those mana rocks, we need to fill in where we can. Wayfarer's Bauble, because I've got to show respect to Commander's Quarters. Wayfarer's Bauble is a 1 mana spell that allows you to be able to mana ramp, and we do need that in this deck. Clout of the Dominus is a 1 mana hybrid. That is an enchantment aura. You can enchant creature as long as that creature is blue. It gets +1/+1 and has Shroud, and then as long as it's red, it gets +1/+1 and has haste. So by putting this this onto the Blister Coil Weird, it becomes a 3/3 that can't be targeted with anything. So we can't pump it up, but it will still pump up from every instant or sorcery. It's like our Whisper Silk Cloak of the deck. Round out the rest of the deck with 9 snow-covered islands and 19 snow-covered mountains. That's right, we're only running 28 lands. 32 lands felt like too much. I was getting way more land than I wanted spells. 30 even felt like it was too much. Once I brought it down to 28, it started feeling like it was more normalized. I don't hate the deck, but again, this was all about a challenge. I wanted to build a deck with nothing but 1 mana stuff in it, and we did it. And I think that you could actually take this to a pod and it might actually be able to do something. But I'll tell you what, how about you drop down in the comments below and you let me know, how do you think this deck would end up faring? Do you think that it really has much of a chance? Are you going to build this and take it to a pod and see what you can do? I want to hear from you every time I make one of these videos, and I get the comments. I love reading them and I love replying to you guys. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button on those videos. Helps out a ton. With that said, again, my name is Josh, aka finleekilgore. Go down in the description below. You can go find my Instagram page as well as my whatnot page, where you can also use my affiliate link. With all of that said, I will see you guys in the next video.